It's pretty safe to say that most of us take photos because we want to share them, right? We either want to share them with our friends and family or we want to share them with the world on the internet. And even though we're at the end of 2021, one of the most popular places to do that is on Instagram. And I'm talking about sharing photos and posts. I'm not necessarily talking about stories or reels or anything like that or video. I'm talking about you go out, you take a nice photo that you're excited to share, you create a post and you share it. Now, for me, I've actually been happy with some of the changes that Instagram has made in terms of being able to turn off seeing how many likes other people's posts have, as well as being able to turn off showing the likes on my own posts, because I really don't think that that metric is something that is worthwhile or very helpful or is indicative of the quality of a photo. So those are a few things that I do. But one of the other things that I do is I want to immerse my audience. So if you happen to see one of my photos, I want to make sure that you are engaged with it. And there's a really cool way to do that by leveraging the carousel tool in Instagram, which is basically, you've seen that. It's a post that has multiple photos that you swipe left and right to see either different photos. But in this video, I'm going to show you how to increase kind of engagement and impact on those posts by leveraging the carousel to create a really cool kind of panoramic feel. And we're only going to use, in this case, the iPhone for that. Now, before we jump in, the app that I'm using called Scroll is an iOS only application. The developer only made it for iOS. And there might be an Android version. There probably is an Android equivalent, but I don't even have an Android device to test it. If I do find out that there is an Android version, or if someone wants to leave that in the comments, let me know and I'll edit it in the description. But the other way is using Photoshop on the desktop. And if you're interested in that, leave a comment below and I'll do another video of how to do this basic thing using Photoshop. But I really think it's awesome by using a combination, in my case, of Lightroom CC to identify the photo that I want to share, and then this app called Scroll to actually create this panoramic carousel photo, all on the phone. I think it's awesome. And so let me go ahead. We're going to jump over to the phone. I'm going to show you how I do this. And so here we are. This is my iPhone 13 Pro Max. And just to show you what I mean by what a kind of pano carousel is, you see this is a photo I took at Bryce Canyon National Park. And if I swipe to the next post, it's like this seamless pano. And it just engages, in my opinion, the viewer more, as opposed to just a static photo. Here, if I go over one more, here's the whole photo. And I included it, the full width of it, to conform to the vertical post in Instagram. Now, if you want to use a vertical photo in Instagram, you'll have to crop to a 4:5, which is just the way it is. It's not the actual vertical aspect ratio. You'll actually have to kind of change your composition. But again, here, you can see it's just a lot of fun to kind of go between these. And it's not just limited to 2 photos. I can do multiple photos if I want. But I generally think that 2 photos is a nice sweet spot. People aren't going to want to keep going and going. And then I do always include the full photo at the end, just so that people can see it, what it looks like. And if they want, they can, pinch to zoom, for example. And so the first thing you obviously want to do is find a photo that would work by kind of swiping. So if it's just something where, your primary focus is in the center of the frame and there's really not anything to the left or the right, then it might not be as effective. And so I'm in Lightroom CC, the Lightroom mobile app. And so before I do anything in terms of sending the photo to Scroll, while I'm in Lightroom, the first thing I'll do is pinch to zoom, and I'll get it to where it kind of looks like a 4:5 photo. And you can see that here. This is kind of what a 4:5 looks like. And if I go back to Lightroom, you can see that. And then all I do is I swipe left to right and I look to see, does it look like it's interesting? And I'll say that, like, all right, from maybe over here to here, that could be interesting. Just the way especially the way this wooden fence kind of goes into the foreground here, that could be fun. So now that I've identified the photo that I want to work on, you'll see if I keep zooming in, it starts to lose detail. And that's because on the phone right now, I have only a smart preview downloaded. So if I click on this cloud icon and click on this get original menu item, it'll download the original. And this is a pretty big file. This is actually a pano that I stitched together from multiple raw files. So I'm going to click this right now. And you can see that the local copy is now the original DNG. And here's why I downloaded it. I want the full resolution photo because I can zoom in and you can see now I have much more detail. I have access to the full DNG. And that makes sense because when I start to lay out this pano, if I want to zoom in tighter, I'll have all of that information. And so now that I have the full resolution file, I'll go ahead and click on the share button. And what you'll want to make sure of is that to the right of the export to camera roll option here, there's a little toggle icon or switch icon. Click on that and make sure that for the dimensions, you have largest available dimensions. That'll make sure that it downloads whatever the highest resolution file that you have downloaded. So if I didn't do that, the download the full resolution option that I just did, it would download a smart preview. But because we have the full resolution file, I'm going to go ahead and click on export to camera roll, and that will save the full file. Granted, it's converting it from a DNG to a JPEG, which is totally fine here. And now you can see that it was saved onto the phone locally. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and swipe up to go to my home screen, and you'll see here there is the app called Scroll, and I'll tap to launch it. And this is the great thing. This app is basically free with in-app purchases. So if you want to buy any of the content, these template packs, and support the developer, that's great. But what I'm going to show you doesn't cost anything. So the first thing you want to do is click on the bottom right here, this icon with the 4 little square quadrants, and that will bring up your saved posts. And as you can see, I've used this a lot to create a bunch of posts. And I'm going to go ahead and click on a new blank post. And so you can see here, it looks like by default, there are 2 cells for the Instagram carousel, but actually by default, it opens up 4. Now, in this case here, I have it as vertical. If you want them to be square posts, all you need to do is click on the third icon or the icon to the right of the add button, which looks like 2 diagonal arrows pointing. And you can see here, you can change it to square. Portrait is what I'm using. You can do landscape if you want, and stories if you want to create story panels. So again, I want to create just a 2-panel pano carousel. To do that, I need to remove 2 of these panels. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the bottom right icon, which is that square, and I'm going to press on the minus key here to remove 2. So now I only have 2 of them here. And you can see that we've got them here. And now it's time to add the photo to this here and lay it out. And to do that, you'll press on the plus icon, then click on Photos, and select the photo that you want to add. So in this case, there is that photo that we just exported out of Lightroom. I'll select it and then click Add, and you'll see that there it is. Now, it's kind of highlighted with a gray overlay, and that means that it's in this moving mode, so you can reposition it. If you tap outside, you'll see that the actual image is shown. And so now what you can do is position and zoom the photo so that you can see what your carousel looks like. So I'm going to tap on the image again, and I'm going to zoom in, and I'm basically going to position it in such a way that it looks good. And so again, you can kind of pinch to zoom and position it the way you want. So this looks pretty good. I'll tap to get out of the repositioning mode or the edit mode. And you can see that this is our 2-image panel. Now, let's say you want to see what it's going to look like. You can go ahead and click on the next button. And this is important. You want to make sure you click on carousel, not video. So here you can go ahead and now it's as if you have an Instagram post. You can even see kind of the icons below, but you can swipe left and right and get a live preview of what your viewers will see when they interact with the post. If you want to make any adjustments, you can click on the back arrow, and so you can make whatever adjustments you want. But again, if you are happy with it, just click on Save, and then click Done. I don't click on Open Instagram because I like to do that manually, so I'll click on Done. And then there's one more thing that I do before I leave this app. You remember in Instagram, not only do I have the actual pano panels here, but I also include the full composition just so that people can see what the original photo looks like. Because again, we did crop in here. You can see that this photo is actually cropped. There's a lot more information. And to do that, I'm going to go back to Scroll. I'll click on that bottom right icon here, and I'm going to click on that minus button. And that removes that second panel. So now I'm only left with one. I'll tap on the image here to get into the edit mode, and I'll pinch in to get the full composition. And the nice thing is that you get these guides here so you can see exactly where you're centered. And I will zoom in until the image hits the edge. So now here I have my full composition. And again, you're forced into this vertical aspect ratio if that's where you used, because with Instagram, it doesn't allow you to have, say, 2 vertical photos and a square photo, at least not yet. I'm hoping that they somehow update that. It's not rocket science. And the other nice thing is you can customize the background color of this cell. So some people like to view Instagram using dark mode. So you can go ahead and click on the color swatch on the bottom left and change that background color. I keep it as white. That's how I view my Instagram feed, using the light or daytime mode, not the night mode. So that's it. And then again, just like before, I'm going to go ahead and click on next and then click on save. And that renders out the full composition in a single cell already formatted to the 4:5 aspect ratio, which is pretty cool. And so the only thing that's left now is to share these photos that you just created for your pano carousel and that original composition. Just switch over to Instagram, create a new post. And the first thing you'll want to do is change your aspect ratio to be vertical, and then select the multi-image icon over here. And we don't want that one to be first. We actually want this image to be first, this image to be second, and then the actual composition to be third. And then we can click next. I'm not going to apply any filters here, so I'll click next again. And now you can go ahead and start typing in your caption. In this case here, I'll say, man, I really miss fall colors. Don't you? Then I'll go ahead and click OK. And I'm going to disable sharing to Facebook, and then I'm going to click on share. And now if I go to my profile here, you'll see that we have the post. And if we swipe over, there's that sweet pano and then the original composition. The other thing that I do, like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, is I'll click on the ellipse here and I will hide the like count, because it's just one of those distracting things. In my opinion, I don't really find it helpful. I don't find it important. And it's certainly not an indicator of how good the photo is. So it's just something that I do. And again, it's just one of those things that's really fun for the viewer to kind of swipe through. It's kind of like, oh, there's more to the photo, which is really cool. And then they get to see the original composition. And that's just my way of making more impactful and engaging Instagram posts on my profile. I hope you found it helpful. And again, if anyone out there knows of an equivalent app for Android, let me know and I'll include it in the description. If you like these videos, please give it a thumbs up. And of course, hit that subscribe button and the bell icon to get notified of all future videos. And if you're into editing your photos on your phone, I've got another video on how I use Photoshop on mobile to apply an Orton effect on my photos right on the device, which is pretty awesome. So check it out. I'll see you on the next video.